makeup. I've
Mine
got
is
that
going.
lovely face.
Yeah, I got your lovely face too. God,
I'm gonna
so
remind us so that we can forget as soon as we get into it. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful.
Sweet. Thank God we did that now instead of later. I mean, Lord knows we would have forgotten.
Oh, 100%. How many times have we?
Oh, you know what was so funny is that when I did the recording with Honey and Jin, I forgot to ask her to do the forgot to even explain what it was, and so she ended the recording and then started her recording again to do the which made this useless.
Yeah, that doesn't know good at all.
And also when she did this, she didn't know what I was talking about, so she just said instead of clapping. It's okay, I can't blame her. It's the first podcast we've ever done together.
I was so confused too with the terms.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes I think that's saying your name. I think that is because that's what it is in an interview, in an audition, right?
Yeah, because exactly, that's what it's from in an acting perspective.
And from an acting perspective, it's like, hi, my name is blank, and this is going to be blank from blank.
The very first time someone asked me to do a I was like my character name and what the scene's about?
You got it. All right, so do you want to just hop into it?
Let's hop into it. Hi, I'm Johnny Bartlett.
Hi, my name is David Baxter. That's the other
Yeah, and we're your hosts of the bundle Bourgeoisie.
We hit both the now, both the clapping and the talking.
Boom, baby. We've got this down. We're professionals.
Yeah, which means now that I've acknowledged it, that you have to include the now in the final edit.
or I just very carefully cut out any mention of the word.
Oh no, then it's more work. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about these games here, huh?
Yeah, this is the December Humble Choice bundle, and on the docket for this week, we have Overcooked 2.
We have Struggling.
Indivisible.
We have Frog Detective 1 and 2.
The Beast Inside.
Path of Giants.
And One Step from Eden.
Ooh. All right, now...
you notice anything weird? There is an extra game on the list this week. We're not doing 3, we're doing 4.
That's right, because it's not just one Frog Detective game, it's 2. Whoa! The Haunted Island.
And this bundle comes with an additional 2 games, correct?
Yeah, well, I think it's partially because the Frog Island the Haunted Island, a Frog Detective game, and a Frog Detective 2, The Case of the Invisible Wizard, are both literally $5 and about an hour long. So it would feel like a crime if you included only one of them, and also, or even if you included both of them, just not having, an extra game, because, they're so small.
Yeah, and so they did round it out to an even 14 this month.
Yeah, so going crazy this time. Going crazy.
Hell yeah. So yeah, want to just hop into this? Let's do it, baby.
Yeah, oh, dude, and what a game to hop into it to start out with here. I love this first game.
Oh god, yes. It's Overcooked 2. This is a game by Ghost Town Games and Team 17 Digital, who also did Overcooked.
Who would have guessed?
Who'd have thought they made the sequel?
Wait, what are they working on right now?
Probably Overcooked 3.
Yeah, you got it.
Ha! Got it in one, baby.
Got it in one. Who would have guessed?
Editor Johnny here. We did not, in fact, get it in one. The next game they're working on is Overcooked All You Can Eat, which is a 4K next-gen remaster of the first 2 games that is including crossplay and online multiplayer for the first time. This is, if you've played Overcooked, you'll love this game. It's the exact same as Overcooked 1, basically. It's all the same mechanics. You run around with your dumb little chef and you pick up fruits and vegetables and burrito shells and you chop them up and you make ingredients. You can fry meat, you can steam stuff. That's what there is to it. But the charm comes from, obviously the game is a up to 4 player co-op game. So you can get way too many chefs in this kitchen all battling for superiority as the head chef.
It's one of the most delightful games I've ever gotten completely just furious at my friends over.
It is unbelievabably fun to bark orders at David and then immediately watch him go do something different.
Look, I panic and I don't know what to do because because things aren't getting done, and it's like, oh, okay, well, if you're not gonna go do your task, I'll go do your task. But that's why I'm the best in that game. If I'm left like the one guy frying burgers, that's my job. I'm the burger frying guy. And then I do great.
And then you catch him washing dishes, and you're like, David, get back to the burgers.
No one was doing them. And then now I go back to my burgers, and my burgers are on fire, and I have to put them out.
It's a ton of fun. The game introduces a lot of new mechanics from Overcooked 1, in that there's different recipes you can do that aren't in the first one, which is super cool. I don't believe the mixing bowl was in the first one, and that one adds a lot of really interesting elements to the game.
Yeah, the mixing bowl is fun.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of little things like that. And the game does a really good job of introducing you to new elements and then layering them on top of each other to make it more difficult. So, the first thing you mix is simply fish and flour, but then later on you end up mixing pancakes, which need flour and eggs and chocolate, but you have to chop the chocolate first to put it in, and then you have to fry the mixture. So it does a really good job introducing you to little mechanics and then building off of those mechanics as you go along further into the levels.
It does a really good job of organizing them in a pretty good way, because it really does feel like they're just about the right amount of difficulty when we get to that point in the game, because we kind of had enough practice doing other stuff.
Exactly. And then they'll even mix it up by throwing in easier tasks and making the maps more complex and difficult with moving parts or constant fire showing up, things like that, which is really fun and adds a lot of dynamic. It's great.
I like that you're those are great. Those had a great dynamic, and those are the ones that make my agita go fucking crazy, bro. Those are the ones that make me those are the ones that give me panic attacks at night. Flying around.
When we're all on one moving platform in the center, and all of the ingredients are on the outside, so we have to move the platform to each corner to do anything.
That one gives me a heart attack. I hate that one because there's 4 of us, right? And it feels like if you had even just 2 people, that would be hard.
Oh yeah, 100%.
but having 4 people makes it impossible to walk around everywhere.
Oh, it does. It's really hard. You're constantly crashing into each other and throwing shit at each other and bumping into each other. It's a lot of fun. It's a blast. This game it's probably some of the most fun you can have playing a 4-player co-op game. You'll have a great time doing it. There's some really cool modes that we didn't even try out. There's a versus mode in which you compete against each other to cook. And there's one other mode. What is it?
I do love how this game, it just kind of goes from, you're cooking sushi 1 minute, and then you're cooking burgers the next minute, and then you're cooking sushi and burgers, and also you're in a hot air balloon flying around, and you have to wait until the hot air balloons collide in order to maneuver the ingredients from one spot to the other. It's chaos. It's complete chaos.
Exactly. It's a lot of fun. Yes, and the other mode is an arcade mode. In which you can just play with each other on different maps. Super cool. So yeah, there's other modes other than just the story, and it's great. It's a fun time. It's loaded with a ton of puns about the sort of game and food and the unbread and stuff. The story's, it's not inherently complex. It's just fun and charming.
It sort of reads a little bit like a Evil Dead parody, because they have a Necronomicon type deal that they keep looking into.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It's Necronomicon.
Yeah, they nom into the...
Yeah, it's very good. It's very charming. I cannot recommend this game enough, especially if you have friends you can play with it. Otherwise, it's even fun alone. They have a mechanic that you can juggle between the chefs to do the different tasks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's always 2 chefs on the field, and you press shift to juggle between both of the chefs. So there's a lot of micromanagement you can do if you want to play it alone. The skins are cute. It's just a good fun time. Play this game with your friends. I definitely recommend it.
I've said this a lot. I want to see a speedrun of this game.
I think people would struggle to do that.
Oh, it would be a struggle, but that would make it good. Or just trying to get 3 stars on every single thing and speedrunning it to the very end. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Oh, that's what I wanted to point out too, is that the difficulty too. Some of the levels are very, very easy to 3-star, and others are very difficult. So there's plenty of replayability in trying to get 3 stars in the levels and like learning the most efficient ways to do them. Yeah, good game. Lots of fun. Not a lot to be said about it. It's Overcooked. You've probably played the first one or seen it. It's a lot of fun. It's not you won't be struggling to enjoy it.
Next game. Just kidding. It's actually just called Struggling. It's actually, I mean, it's a struggle to play, but it's not actually that bad. It's pretty fun. So it's developed by Chasing Rat Games, who have developed no other titles, and it's published by, get this, Frontier
God,
Foundry?
of course the developer's name is Chasing Rat Games. That's so fucking good.
Well, yeah, especially because the rats chase you the entire time in that game.
Yeah!
And it's terrifying. But again, Frontier Foundry, the Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 publishers, I don't know, and apparently they also did like this game called Lemniscate, and I get they might also be like a subsidiary of the people who also published Elite Dangerous and Planet Zoo and the like Planet Coaster and all of those games.
Damn, they know a good game when they see it.
I guess so, but it seems like it's like a sub publisher. It's like a publisher under a publisher. It's weird.
Editor Johnny here. Frontier Games is a subsidiary of Frontier, the publisher of the aforementioned games. Frontier Games was created as Frontier's visionary new games label, in which they are dedicated to helping smaller developers develop games that they see are innovative in their genre of play.
Anyway, though, this game is, you kind of have to start with the art style. It's like this macabre-looking cacophony of body horror with some very mild inspiration from Greek mythology. There are just everywhere you look eyeballs and flesh and teeth jutting out of surfaces, and like unsuspecting humans you'll find, and you'll just like catapult them into horrible deaths, often by your own hand. And it feels almost like it came straight out of the Newgrounds scene, just in terms of like the humor and the theming and the way that it looks. Not in a bad way at all. I say that with love. I think that Newgrounds has a lot of great things going for it. Initially, though, it plays like Heave Ho. If you're playing co-op, one person controls each arm of the beast, and if you're playing solo, then you control both arms at the same time, which I found to be like way harder, weirdly. Just because of the way that the arms work. They don't work like the Heave-Ho arms where they have like a joint and 2 noodles. It's sort of more like a weird cluster of individual joints that sort of feels more like a tentacle than anything else. You eventually get the ability to do more stuff like mutations, to detach your arm and stuff. But for the most part, you just grip, slip, and throw yourself forward to progress. It's a good time. The only real mode here is the story mode, where players progress from the beginning of the game to the end. It's definitely not as feature-rich as Heave-Ho, and it's probably not as accessible to a larger audience either. I think Heave-Ho was the same way, where it didn't have online co-op, and this game doesn't have it either. You're forced to use Parsec or Steam screen share if you're using the Steam version. The story can feel unnecessarily difficult at times. Correct me if I'm wrong there.
You know, it was challenging, but I think the challenging part came from like just the inherent controls and communication that came with it, not because it was like inherently difficult.
I suppose. I think about that rat chase segment early on in the game and how many times we had to restart it before we finally got it. And I thought, like, you know, if I like wasn't, you know, streaming this, I might have just given up there. Like, that part is
and see, my thought
so
was
stressful.
like, well, if I was playing this alone, I probably would have got that in the second pass.
Really? Playing it alone, it is not as easy, I gotta say. But we were definitely sabotaging each other along the way during that. Because, like, if you make one mistake, then, like, you're dead. You're dead. So, with a friend, that's what I was gonna say, is that alone, I felt like this game was very frustrating, where I was just kind of struggling with the controls, and wasn't having a fantastic time. And when I was with a friend, I was busting my freaking gut, laughing all the time at just the constant ineptitude and failure of our ability to progress.
I was having so much fun.
So much fun, dude. I really want to go back and try to beat that game. honestly.
I kind of want to see the end of the story too, if I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
I want to
Like,
know what more mutations there are.
yeah.
Because it seems like the further we go down the game, the further it distances itself from Heave Ho, where you think it's just this game about controlling this single conjoined twin. It sort of becomes this larger game about trying to get a single mass to the end using your two detachable limbs and their many abilities. I enjoyed it more than Heave Ho somehow, even though there's like less options. Maybe it was just the fact that like we have to work together so much more in this game in order to progress.
I think that's what I really enjoyed about this game too over Heave Ho is that, like, I mean, there were moments in Heave Ho where either one of us could basically solo the level ourselves.
Yeah, because you can just get the balloon and then give it to the other person, and then they can get to the end of the level. Because in Heave Ho, you control two sort of flailing dudes individually rather than one dude together. And one dude together feels like you're accomplishing a goal, where the other one feels like you're both playing separate games together. Yeah. So in that sense, I felt like much more literally connected to my friend in this time of distancing, and so I enjoyed it more in that sense.
It was the difference of teamwork makes this easier versus without teamwork this would be impossible.
Yeah. I felt like the only time we really needed teamwork was for the coins, really. The coins in Heave Ho are where the real teamwork comes in. But in this game, so I'd say that the implications of this in terms of the story, because you're sort of you're the whole game sets you up in like this Greek myth epic scroll that sort of reminds me of the initial scroll of Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, where you're sort of learning about like these two legendary heroes named, what was it, Hector and Archimedes. And these two heroes are fated to come back one day and to save the world from devastation. And it looks like these two like legendary brothers, and like they look strong and heroic. And then the game cuts to the future where you're in a laboratory and you break out of a storage tank and you're just like this screaming beast with literally a button that allows you to just scream and kill yourself. And everything you do is pain. You slap yourself onto things and get a bruised eye, and you seem to be able to infinitely regenerate yourself using these like weird flesh-like respawn points. It's just the idea is that life is pain. And why would we expect our legendary prophesized heroes of pain? Our legendary prophesized heroes to not also be in pain.
The heroes of pain.
The heroes of pain. They are the heroes of pain.
Born from the suffering.
I mean, that is what they are in this game. They are the heroes of pain, born to suffer, and make progress through their suffering. And it really, you can feel the struggling of the main character as you also in the game feel the struggling of the controls, and in that sense the narrative is very complete in terms of the story and the gameplay working together to tell the same thing. So I think that
and that's something that I found really cool about this game is the way it sort of twisted like the traditional Greek lore and story into this weird mass of just nastiness.
Yeah, like it definitely subverts expectations in a really fun way. And it makes me want to explore more to see like what other allusions they could make in crazy ways that I just don't expect. So if you have a friend, this one is definitely worth it. Make sure you find a friend who won't rip your head off while playing it. I got lucky. I'd say doubly worth it if you plan on streaming it. It is a little bit hard with parsec and stuff, but I think that this game is just such a total riot, and it's been a while since I've laughed this hard while playing a game, that like you, chances are, will have a fantastic time playing it for a whole audience as well.
It's all around a blast.
It's a blast. Just like our next game is a blast.
Oh, bouncy Bob here. This game is amateurs that forgot to mention the best part. It's that it's got collectible hats, yo.
Oh, really? Okay, well.
Get that shit on lock. You can even get them in a little mind palace that you can look at them all in. It's great. Anyway, back to the show.
Okay, our next game is
All
Indivisible, a game by Lab Zero Games, who were the developers of Skullgirls, as most people are familiar. This is And I even wrote here, the first thing I said in the outline is, this game is fun?
That's not a rousing recommendation. Is this game is fun?
It's not a rousing recommendation, because I don't rousingly recommend the game, but it's a real-time tactics RPG in that, like, you have an active... it's a lot like the active time battle system of Final Fantasy, where you have, like, a constant cooldown of your attack that you can then spam. But this one's presented in the way of...
Valkyrie Profile.
Valkyrie Profile. So you have all of your 4 heroes are arranged in a diamond pattern. So each position corresponds with a button on the controller or the keyboard. And you have X amount of button presses that you can do. Holding the button also dodges when an enemy, or blocks or dodges when an enemy is attacking. It's a really sort of simple game, like, combat mechanic, but it's really innovative, and the way they did it is kind of interesting because each enemy has 3 different attacks. They have their basic attack, they have an up attack, and a down attack. So each of those sort of combo in different ways and do different things depending on what the character is. And there are some enemies that are like guarding, and in order to break the guard, you have to do an up attack and followed up by a down attack, and then it breaks their guard and you can do anything to them.
It's like cross-ups in a fighting game, and it literally feels like a fighting game from what I understand.
Oh, 100%. It feels exactly like a fighting game. It's really fun. I enjoyed the combat a lot until I had to do it too much, and then it started to get a little frustrating. Editor Johnny here. The following segment contains very minor Indivisible spoilers, including characters, gameplay, and some items that you may find or encounter. If you'd like to avoid these minor spoilers, please skip ahead to 35 minutes and 27 seconds. Well, all right, let's talk about the gameplay mechanics first and why I kind of didn't like it. The gameplay it's disguised as a Metroidvania. The intent is that, like, you can explore the map and you have to come back to different areas when you get different upgrades to progress further. But the way they present it in the game, it's off-putting as hell, because they give you the choice to go to one of 3 areas, and you get to one of those 3 areas, and then you get about halfway to 2/3 of the way through it to find out that you have to go back to get the item that you need. So it's not like the map is just an open world that you sort of explore and encounter obstacles. The players are making an active choice to go to an area, and then they're being told their choice was wrong, and you have to go back to another area.
It's like a fake open world, basically.
Exactly. So it just feels like the game would have been smoother if they had just confined you to each area at a time and you progress linearly, rather than this sort of quasi-linear, but sort of open world, not really system that they put into place.
Is it all like one large map, or is it like many multiple maps?
It's many multiple maps. That's the thing. So after you finish the first little area, you get on a ship, and the ship gives you the option to select one of 3 different areas to travel to. And the different areas are completely isolated from the rest of the world.
Man, why didn't they just gate that then? Like, I mean, maybe you can get like an item or something, but like, I don't know like what the point of even going over there would be.
Yeah, there's no point really in going to each area at a time, when they could have just said, okay, just go to the first area, then the second area, then the third area. But no, it's go to the second area to get an upgrade, to go back to the first area, to go to the third area, to go back to the second area, to go to the first area, to go back to finish the game, basically. So it's this weird system, and the problem that because that's basically what a Metroidvania is. That's not normally an issue. But the problem that I have with it is specifically giving the players choice to pick which area they go to just to find out it's the wrong one.
There's a lot of ways that can just lead to player frustration and backtracking.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the problem that I had too in that idea of player progression and backtracking, because each area that you go through, you have to fight through a countless number of mobs. Like so the screen is obviously broken up into basically different square panels, and each time you go across the panel, it loads the next panel, like a traditional side-scroller style game. Or 2D platformer. And so each of these little areas usually has like 2 to 3 enemy combat encounters you have to do. Most of them aren't skippable. Some of them you can like jump over the enemies and maneuver around them so you don't have to do the fights, but there are a lot of enemies that are just like too big to jump over, so you just have to do the fights. and the fights all respawn. So you go through probably 20 to 40 fights to get to the end, and that's assuming you go through and like perfectly make it to the end without fucking up your exploration and having to backtrack to begin with. So you make it all the way to the end to find out you have to go all the way back to the beginning, refight all of the combat encounters to get back. There's no shortcut. They don't like teleport you back to the boat or anything. They don't let you leave from the spot you get stuck at. You have to fight your way all the way back to the boat to go pick a different area.
I feel like a simple solution would literally just be like a return scroll, like a consumable item like that you can just teleport with.
Yes, if that existed, that would have been incredible, because then I wouldn't have felt so frustrated with the backtracking. That's what really got me. and that's why the combat started to wear down on me, because the combat wasn't inherently difficult. It was pretty easy to solve. Even the boss fights weren't that bad. It just doing it over and over again, and each combat sequence taking a minimum of like 2 to 5 minutes means I spent, 40 minutes exploring one area just to be told to go all the way back and have to spend 40 minutes clearing my way back again to start clearing the next area to try to get to that gate again.
Doesn't sound fun, just sounds frustrating.
Yeah, it was very frustrating after a certain point of playing that I just wanted to progress, but I had to do a bunch of mindless combat that I knew I would already win in order to get to the items in order to progress further.
I feel that this is a little bit of a spoiler for a game that we're going to be featuring in the next podcast, but I've been playing Shining Resonance a little bit early, and that game has similar combat where like the regular enemy combat encounters, you have to do so much in order to grind to get to a high enough level to do like the big boss encounters, and the boss encounters are the only fun encounters in the game, it feels like sometimes, where like you actually have to think about the strategy and like you try not to like try to keep everyone alive and try to keep everyone going, and then like the fucking mobs are just like whatever, you're gonna win, you can just mash whatever.
That's so funny too, because while we're on that sort of subject, is that like fighting the mobs gives you experience, but it never feels like you actually need the level ups and experience to fight the bosses. Like I was doing, and I don't know, maybe it's just because the game and the way its progression is developed was actually really well designed, and I was progressing at a very appropriate rate, but fighting the bosses never felt challenging. I never felt underleveled, and I never felt really overleveled, so it really felt like leveling didn't make a difference in the game at all.
So you kind of felt powerful regardless, as long as you were like acquiring new people especially.
Yeah, exactly. And to that point, the only times I've been challenged in the game was fighting. There's some special mobs that you have to fight to get like items to give to one for a quest, basically. And another really weird design choice: when you encounter these mobs, as soon as you walk into their zone, it immediately triggers combat with them. And the combat with them, like, you can tell immediately, it's the only part I felt underleveled, because every attack was doing, like, 3 damage and nothing to the mob. But there's no way to run away from the combat either, so you basically get punished for exploring these zones too, because if you accidentally trigger this mob, you just have to die and not go into that zone later. Which, even those fights, though, like, I probably spent at one point like 40 minutes just trying to whittle my way through this fight just to see if it could be done. And I had all the dodges timed perfectly. I had all the attacks timed perfectly, but eventually I just got bored of waiting for like my 1 damage attacks to kill this guy. So I was like, all right, I give up and just let him kill me.
I feel that.
So even the hardest mob wasn't difficult. The only reason I couldn't kill it was because I didn't have enough damage output. It's a really interesting game, and I think the gameplay is very unique and innovative and fun. I just got bored of it. Like, I got bored of backtracking and doing the same thing over and over again, and knowing it was easy and I still had to do it, and there was no way to just get past it.
Oh, yeah. Fun fact about me, I did actually kickstart this game, but I've never played it. I waited so long for it to come out, and I wanted specifically the Nintendo Switch version, and it took them way long to get the Nintendo Switch version out for some reason. They had some issue with redoing the code, and then like they hired somebody else to do it, and then when they implemented it in the Switch store, it actually didn't have a lot of like key features like co-op and other shit like that. It was just like left out because it was like in a later update that they hadn't like added to like that specific patch yet. So then they had to go back and like address that fact and like hey, sorry guys, we messed up. Like I know that the Nintendo Switch version was late and also missing a ton of features from the current Steam version, but
and that's like, I didn't get the chance to play co-op on this game, but I wonder what that looks like, because I can only imagine the co-op is only for combat.
I mean, I don't know. I think it must be, because like the astral projection mechanic is like where characters come out of your mind. Like you know, one character's in control the entire time, except maybe in fights. Then they come out. That would be make the most sense to me.
I can't speak to the co-op. I didn't play it, but that's what makes the most sense to me. And that just feels like it'd be boring. Like you're watching your friend run around and do all the exploration, and then every once in a while you get to pop out and spam B.
Yeah. I'm sure editor Johnny will let us know if there's more.
Yes, editor Johnny will let us know if there's more. Editor Johnny here. I was way off base on the co-op. After reviewing gameplay, it looks like you can run around and platform with your buddy as well, and, even better, friendly fire is on, so you can fuck with each other in the process. The co-op looks incredibly fun on this game, and I think it would alleviate a lot of the pain of exploring this world alone. If you can find a friend to play this with, I highly recommend it. But I did find some really cool things about this game. Like, there was one mechanic, the boss fights, they all juggle the actual combat system with the out of combat system in a really interesting way. So like you'll be fighting a boss, and all of a sudden they'll just blast you back and you'll get knocked out of combat, where you can run around dodging their attacks and attacking them until you get engaged back in the combat with them.
Yeah, that's cool. And also because like your attack is, I believe, a traversal mechanic as well. Isn't that right?
It absolutely is, yes. Yeah, the traversal, too, is very cool. The platforming segments in this game are great. Like, the items and the upgrades you get and the way you traverse the world is super cool. You eventually get a weapon that you can use to turn enemies to stone, so you can use them as, like, climbable terrain and stuff. It's fucking phenomenal. Like, the traversal mechanics are amazing, and I wish I could just platform in this game and not have to do so much pointless combat.
Well, maybe if you're better at the platforming, then you wouldn't have to do the combat.
but I can't not do it.
You have to grind for levels.
Which although I did just get to the point where I unlocked the thing that turns enemies to like traversable terrain. And so I guess at this point, yeah, I realistically could just shoot all the enemies with that and dodge them and jump over them and stuff and not have to worry about them. So that might make the game a little more enjoyable in this last stretch that I have.
That's fair. There you go. And I don't know how much you found of like the secrets in this game, because I kickstarted it. I know that there are some really cool things that you can find. Like there's like a Shovel Knight character that you can recruit.
Oh hell, there's Wario.
Wario?
Like you literally.
I actually didn't realize that Wario was in the game.
Yo, deadass. It's this old mustachioed prince. He's not called Wario.
He just looks like Wario, and he acts like Wario.
He looks like Wario, and he acts like Wario. And you can get eventually you unlock the ability to change the color of the costumes of your party members, and you can change his color scheme to Wario's. Like 100%, he's supposed to be a nod to Wario.
I fucking love that. Yo, dude.
It's so good.
That's one thing that I really enjoyed about following the development of this game, was just how much fun they seem to be having with the character designs and like all of the different like recruitable characters that you can bring into your party.
Yeah, and to get into the story a little bit, like, the characters are incredible. Like, all the characters are super distinct and unique, and they're really fun and interesting and cool characters. But like, I kept finding like they throw them at you like fucking candy, especially at the start of the game. Like it's one after another. You get like 5 or 6 party members in the first probably 2 hours of the game.
They just want you to have some stuff to choose from.
100%. But like that was one of my problems. Is like there's this disconnect about members joining your party and the main quest line, because all of them are like, yes, I'll join you to avenge my dead brother, and then they get in your party and they never mention their dead brother again. It's just like, okay, now they're just here to save the world?
Now they're just trapped in my head forever.
Exactly. Like, there is one character, I think, whose motivation fits throughout the whole game, and her whole motivation is just like, yeah, fuck it, I'll join you. I burnt my house down, so I got nowhere to be.
I like that motivation. That's a good motivation.
So yeah, like, I love the characters. I love the, like, fucking lesbian pirate queen. She's amazing. All of the characters are super cool and super interesting. But they all play really distinctly too. Like, they all play very uniquely in combat, and their abilities all reflect their personalities in a very interesting way too. But also, like, a lot of the story just feels very surface level and kind of like, it's just all right writing.
We made a game.
Yeah, it's a lot of like, hey, I'm the hero of the world and I'm gonna save the world. Yeah, hero, I'll join you, hero of the world. Let me hop into your head and join you on your magical quest. Oh no, hero of the world, you fucked up. Like, it's a lot of, like, very, very basic surface level dialogue. It's not bad, it's not great. It's all around just like it's fun.
It's alright.
I wrote, I think most of my complaints about this game came from trying to take it all in one sitting. Like, I sat down and played this game for like 10 or 11 hours straight. And I think that's like all of the little nitpicky things just kind of start to build up on each other when you're playing it for that long. I think this game would be a lot of fun if you're just like, oh, I got home from work and I'm just going to walk through an area for 40 minutes or whatever and see what happens. You know, if you're playing it at a very casual pace, I think it'd be a ton of fun and won't feel as repetitive or burn you out nearly as quickly as it burnt me out.
Well, there you go. So get it on the Switch if they, granted, updated the game at this point. And then, yeah. Then you can play it co-op. And enjoy it at a leisurely pace.
Enjoy it at a very leisurely pace. Like, take it in as though you're a frog sitting on a lily pad in the cool summer's pond.
Just taking in the breeze and your fellow animal friends nearby, and oh, there's a mystery to be solved. Would you look at that? That frog's putting on some pants. He's putting on a shirt. He's buttoning it up. He's got a glass. He's ready to go. All right, guys, look.
Does the frog detective wear clothes in this?
Yeah, he does. He wears like a little like beige shirt and jeans and little like brown loafers, and he has like a little magnifying glass that he carries with him everywhere, and you can use it to like look at things, but it doesn't actually really zoom it in that much. It kind of just distorts the view to like a sort of circular lens. It's really adorable. I thought it was. Anyway, this game is developed by Grace Buxner and Thomas Boker. Thomas previously made a little minimalist puzzle game called Line, but other than that, they haven't done much. This is like sort of their claim to fame right now. This is published by Worm Club and Superhot Presents, Superhot Presents also published The Procession to Calvary, which is like a Renaissance painting point-and-click adventure, and Teenage Blob, which is a quote-unquote half-game, half-album adventure game. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So they seem to have a lot of interesting things under their belt besides just Superhot. I didn't actually know that. If you didn't know that, now you know. Anyway, Frog Detective gets to solve mysteries by talking to animals and bringing them what they need. That's like the whole gameplay. It's like a first-person perspective. It sort of plays like that one episode of Chowder, where in order to solve a single person's problem, you have to go and talk with every single other person to find out their problems, and then you can solve one person's problem, which then that will start a chain of events where you can solve everyone's problem by getting the prize that they will give you. Like, oh, here, thanks for solving my problem. Have this thing, that a doodad that this other person needs. Then you give that to the other person, and that person gives you a doodad that another person needs, and then you solve everything.
So, to put it in perspective of another bundle game that's been on our podcast before, kind of like Smile for me.
Yes, very similar to that, I think. I never watched the whole gameplay, but if it sounds correct, then that's probably exactly what it was.
That sounds exactly like that.
Yeah. The first game is slightly smaller in scope than the second game, because this is 2 different games here. The second game focuses more on the detective aspect. You actually have like a little notebook that you get to write down information about suspects, and you can finger them as suspicious. You like write down notes about like their alibis and their personalities as you learn them, and also what specific tasks they need to be completed. Both of these games are super short and sweet. They're not substantial. Like at all, but that's fine. Honestly, I don't think every game needs to be a ton. It's cute enough to induce a heart attack, and that's all you need. Each is about 100% completable in like anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. The first one's probably 1 hour. The second one probably around 3 hours. The
Okay, this is a little much for this spoiler section. Literally just skip ahead like 10 seconds.
Getting into the spoilers just a tiny bit for like 5 seconds. Literally, that's it. The writing is gold. Every character is so adorable and memorable. My favorite was Mary, who, after extorting you for 5 monies, says, "I am above the law." And no one in this game is ever actually a bad person. They are just misunderstood. That's the end of the spoiler part of the review. It's just a very quaint and lovely game. I love this game so much. The writing and all of the characters I love. I would hug each and every one of them if I could. Each of these games is like $5, and the short length can make it a little bit hard to justify if you're just purchasing it. But also, I've just never smiled this much while 100%ing 2 games in a single night, so I am a stan. I think that these games are a pleasure and a delight, and I think that you should try them.
Don't they have like an extended Frog Detective universe outside of the games too?
I think they might, yeah. They have like a blog. They have a frog blog that you can go and follow, and like a Twitter account that's like an extension of the personality of the main character.
Editor Johnny here. I realized we forgot to mention the Frog Detective's social medias. If you want to see more Frog Detective outside of the game, you can follow him at Frog Detective on Twitter, or go to frogdetective.net where you can find his frog blog.
And it basically provides extra content in the Frog universe that you can see like more cases and stuff, and like it is so adorable. I love it so goddamn much. It's probably the exact opposite of our next game.
I don't know. That Frog Detective, he might have a beast inside himself.
Is that what the Frog...
Every man is capable of murder, and every amphibian as well.
That's what the Frog Detective 3 is about. It's gonna get it's gonna star the Red Lobster character, Lobster Cop, and he's gonna end up finding out that the Frog Detective has actually been murdering every single person that he's come across, and that this is actually just a delusion, a wild delusion in his mind.
Oh man, speaking of, okay.
How do you like that segue?
Wow, what a segue. Our next game is The Beast Inside by Illusion Ray Studios. This is their only game so far. It is a first-person horror game. You know, like first-person horror game where you run around and you get chased by bad guys and stuff. And this game, it was really interesting in that, like, it felt like an homage to a ton of other horror games. And apparently, looking into it a bit, the developers did say that, like, they pulled inspiration from dozens of horror games, basically. And it felt like every chapter of this game felt like it was shifting styles between different horror games. So it was really interesting. There were, like, moments that I was like, hey, this reminds me of PT. I'm running through an endless hallway over and over again. Or, like, hey, this feels like Resident Evil. They gave me a gun and I can shoot the bad guy. Like... Or, like, this is like The Evil Within. Like, I'm doing a complex stealth sequence in which I can't get caught. Like,
so the entire time you're just like, this is like something else.
Yeah, every moment felt like a different horror game. Like, it felt like it smashed all these different horror games into one very charming homage to all of them. Like, it didn't do disservice to them. It wasn't like it wasn't like Light Matter, you know? I wasn't playing this game and thinking, oh, this is just trying to be a cheap PT knockoff. It was like, oh, they saw this mechanic in PT that they really liked, and they found a way to implement it very smart in their game.
I like that. I really do like that. I feel like this might end up being one of those games that's like, you know, if you've played other games, then you've probably played elements of everything in this before, but, like, it just does what it does so well that, like, it's kind of hard to argue with it.
100%. And it wasn't the best game in the genre because it was, you know, doing a bunch of things from a bunch of different games, but it sort of showcased in a way how a game could pull from a bunch of different styles and genres of horror games and mash them all together in one, in a way that feels coherent and kind of works. Especially with the dynamic of jumping between the past and the present.
Oh.
Yeah, so the storyline takes place in 2 different timelines at the same time. And so there's never this moment of, oh, I feel out of place because the mechanics and like the goal and gameplay kind of shifted in a way. It's like, oh, this is just it's because I, jumped through time and now things are a little different,
Yeah, interesting. Do you get like is there a mechanic that you switch through it like while you're just wandering through levels, or?
No, so each chapter basically takes place in it alternates timelines. So chapter 1 is in the present, chapter 2 becomes in the past, chapter 3 is in the present, and it kind of jumps back and forth like that.
Okay.
So it's very scripted. It's not like time jumping is not a mechanic in the game. It is a storytelling device.
Gotcha. That makes more sense.
Yes. Okay, cool. So yeah, it was a really interesting homage, and like, God, the chase sequences in this game were fucking beautiful. Like, they were so well animated. They weren't difficult. It was a chase sequence, so it was just like pick the right path and go down it, but like they were beautifully animated, and the enemies were like constantly popping out of like walls and tunnels and throwing shit at you, and it was so, I would play this game just to watch the chase sequences because I thought they were so fucking good. There was never a chase sequence that I got in that I wasn't just like, shit is happening everywhere and I'm gonna fucking die. Like,
chase sequences are a little bit hit and miss sometimes. I feel like they can either be like some of the most fun parts of the game and stressful and memorable, and like, because crazy shit's happening everywhere and it's like one of the highest like moments of intensity in the game. But then it can also just be like kind of tedious because it's like you just die over and over again, or like you do this and that, and like does it happen like that at all, or?
No, honestly, they almost felt more like glorified cutscenes because the path that you had to go through was very, very well outlined. And like all of the enemies had very good visual indicators. So it wasn't, they weren't done in the traditional sense of like, oh, this one bad guy is chasing me through the whole thing and I have to find my way through the right path and dodge things. Yeah, it was like the enemy was constantly catching up with you, so to speak. Like, they were behind you, and then all of a sudden they'd walk, so you'd have 2 tunnel paths to go through, and they'd walk through one of them to funnel you in the other. Or like you'd come into an opening and there'd be a left and right, and all of a sudden the enemy would bust through a wall on the right, so you knew you had to go left.
But like that also gives you the added effect of like if you're going left and then you see something burst out, you're like, oh.
Exactly. Like there was one distinct moment where you're sprinting down this straight path. Like you drop off a ledge and you sprint down, and then all of a sudden the enemy walks right in front of you, and oh fuck, I have to turn around, and you turn around and you realize where you dropped down from, there was an opening behind you can go in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so they use the enemies in a very clever way to direct the player through the path, which just makes it so fucking good. Like, I thought they were beautiful and fun and engaging and exciting, and they weren't like scary, but it was so cool just like watching this fucking bad guy bust out of a wall and seeing all the planks fly in front of me while he's glowing next to me and knowing, oh shit, turn left. Like, very, very, very good chase sequences. And then you get into the QuickTime events.
Yeah, tell me about these.
And God, did I have a problem with the QuickTime events in this game.
I mean, QuickTime events are hard to do right. I don't think that they're very good.
Well, they make an interesting mechanic. They're very simple, and this game, the developers tried to make them complex in a very cheap gimmick, in that all of the QuickTime events were controlled with the mouse, and so the mouse symbol would pop up when it was a QuickTime event, but they would randomly switch between the left or right mouse button that you had to press, and the only indication was what color the indicator was on the event that popped up. So you'd go through 4 in a row pressing left click, and then all of a sudden one would pop up and it'd be a random right click, and you'd die.
Ooh, buddy. That I could feel the frustration from that.
Oh, it was so frustrating. And then the audacity. They had a climbing sequence with QuickTime events in which you're using your left and right arm to climb up. And they randomly generated whether it was left and right button. They didn't just use left for left and right for right.
What?
It was so fucking confusing and just like a pointless barrier.
Yeah, because how I climb a road is right arm, then right arm, then right arm, then left arm, then right arm, then right arm, then left arm, then right arm, then right arm, then left arm, then left arm, then left arm, then right arm.
The QuickTime events just felt very toxic and like an intentional way of like, haha, got you, we made you die this time.
It's like literal gotcha mechanics to see like a little death scene or something.
Exactly. Like I only died probably 6 times playing the game, and 4 of them were QuickTime events.
Lame.
Just because like, oh, it was right click this time and I thought it was going to be left click. Oops.
It never feels good to fail a QuickTime event. It just never does.
Especially because like they don't give you second chances. If you mess it up, you're just dead. No matter how quick you react too.
I don't know. I played Cheep recently, which had QuickTime events in the sense that it was basically like a Dragon's Lair game. But it reset immediately right back to immediately where you left off the second that you failed. And so it basically didn't even feel like you failed.
Yeah, you just got a quick animation of dying, and then you were back to wherever the last checkpoint was in the chapter on this one. So the quick time events were rough. It was hard. I didn't quite enjoy them, but it was still, problems with that aside, the gameplay was still mostly fun. It was predominantly a sort of exploration game more than anything. You found like you'd expect in a horror game. You find like notes laying everywhere that give you bits of lore, and you're mostly just like, oh, let me rewire this thing real quick to get to the next zone or whatever, and then run away from a bad guy.
Yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure those are there to like quote unquote like give you a break to like just read something and take in some lore, but like, man, fuck that shit. I always ignore it. I very rarely read it unless I'm like on a stream and I really feel the need to like give them a little bit of the lore, a little bit of my audience.
I did not read much of them. I did read the hidden ones that pop up just because they were, you had to wait for the hidden text to be discovered anyway, so it was really easy to read it as you went. But that was about all the reading I did of the game. and the story of this game. Let's get into this real quick.
Wacky Steve here. These dumb boys didn't even realize I cut out almost 5 seconds of audio.
The story was weird. It felt odd in 2020 because the predominant storyline is like Cold War America and you're decrypting Russian spies' telegrams. And so it's just all of this weird anti-Russian, anti-communist propaganda that just feels so out of place right now. Like the whole time the main characters run around like, the commies are trying to kill us. They're spying on me. They're gonna kill my wife, the commies. Nah, that's what these Ruskies want. They're trying to brainwash us all and bring communism to America. Like,
I mean, you say that's out of place right now, but I can't tell you how many like times my mom has brought me like an anti-communist piece of media to my desk to be like, here, check this out.
Well, yeah, and that's like, I don't know, maybe it's just that like anti-communist media hasn't really popped its way up in a lot of video games, but to see it in a video game was just kind of like, what are you guys doing? It's not fucking Cold War Russia anymore. Like,
I mean, like Stranger Things is doing the same thing too. Everything that's set in like is it set in the 80s?
Yeah, it is.
Of course,
very much.
If it's set in the 80s, then of course it has. There it is. There's your answer.
Yeah, but it's like, why would you pick that to be your setting in 2020? It's just it's
because we're still living in the 80s. We're still living in the Cold War, baby. It never ended.
It was just like, man, just like fucking make up a country, It doesn't have to be, and like, sure, make it about Russian spies, but your main character doesn't have to run around being like, fucking commies trying to come to America. I'm keeping America safe from the commies.
That is like the quote-unquote twist of every single piece of media that is ever set in the 80s right now is, oh, oops, it was the commies.
but wait, that's not the twist of this game. Okay.
Oh, it's even worse.
You guessed it. It's another spoiler section. Perhaps David and I should find some consistent sound effect to use for our spoiler sections throughout all of the episodes. We'll talk about it. Anyways, to avoid major story spoilers from The Beast Inside, skip ahead to 57 minutes and 16 seconds. The twist I fucking hated, because like, you see it coming kind of, but there's a little part of you that's like, maybe that's not what it is, but it ends up being it. And it's like, the title of the game is The Beast Inside. Who do you think the murder is the whole time?
Somebody with a split personality.
It's someone with a split personality in DID. Whoa, what a concept. Let's make the bad guy have DID and schizophrenia. What a good way to represent that group of people, cuz everyone with those issues are definitely murderers.
How many freaking horror movies and games have that exact premise? And it continues to, like, stigmatize that community.
Yeah, it's so bad, and it's hella insensitive, and, like, fucking make the guy possessed by a demon. Don't make him, like, subject to a very real medical thing. Like,
yeah. Or I don't know, if you're gonna do that, then, like, make it somewhat realistic. Like, maybe you can do, like, a Hellblade type of deal where you make it, like, you get, like, medical experts in and you actually, like, make it a part of the gameplay and part of the story, you know?
Yeah, but 100%, it's just like, oh, the main character was traumatized and then developed DID and murdered everyone.
Wow.
Like, it feels insensitive, and it doesn't feel like good representation. It feels, I don't know, it's bad. It doesn't feel good. The game does have, so that's my mostly, probably, most people would probably say it's bias. Yeah, that's my bias about why I didn't like the story, because insensitive portrayal against people with DID and fucking weird anti-commie propaganda.
It's been done. That's all I'll say.
It's been done. We know it's 2020. It's not great. It's not a great light to portray any of these things in, like. But the game does have multiple endings, so that's nice. But all of the endings come down to, like, 2 decisions you make at the end of the game.
I hate that.
Yeah, it's all the very last 2 chapters. You make a decision as both of the main characters, and that determines everything.
See, like, replaying through Little Misfortune was nice recently because there was choices throughout the entire game that you could see to get, like, different dialogue choices and stuff, which made replaying it feel substantial, even though the ending didn't change. And in this, it's the exact opposite, where, like...
Oh, yeah, and that's the problem, too, is there's no chapter select and there's no save games. You play through this game on one file. As soon as it's over, it's done, and you have to start a new game. And so, in order to see the other endings, you have to play through the whole game again, unless you, like, save scum it somehow. Yeah, so... It's... The game has some problem areas. I enjoyed the gameplay a lot. It felt like a great homage to other horror games. I mostly enjoyed the story, barring a few glaring issues. It wasn't the end-all be-all of horror games or anything, like, super unique or new, but it felt interesting. It is the studio's first horror game, and so it seems like they could have a lot of potential developing other titles in the future. Which is very exciting to think about, and it showed a lot of ways that you can implement mechanics in a sort of non-cringy or bad way. If you're interested in horror games, I think it's worth picking up and looking at just for the mechanics and sort of, like, gameplay alone.
I mean, the game looks very pretty. I'm impressed that it's a first effort.
Yeah, I was very impressed, too, to see that it was the studio's first game. There's a lot of, like, the game's core horror mechanic is jump scares, so, but most of them feel very well earned and deserved. I didn't feel a lot of times that I was like, saw that jump scare coming. They do a very good job, like, mixing it up, and there's some really good moments where they like, clearly show you the bad guy ahead of time, and so, like, the jump scare isn't its appearance altogether. It's kind of what happens when you start to approach it. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff. There's a lot of not interesting stuff. It's a
game about stuff.
It's a game about stuff. It's all right. It's not the best in the world. I feel like I've said this again and again and again.
And again and again and again and again and again. Repeat.
And again and again. These guys are probably on the pathway to be some giants in the horror industry, but
it's entirely possible.
They're climbing their way to the top.
Yeah.
An indie studio of exactly 3 people, in which 2 of them are always sitting around while one does all the work.
Is that true?
No, absolutely not. That's the segue.
I knew that it was. You felt like you were digging yourself into a hole there with, like, factually incorrect information. All right, so this next game is called Path of Giants. It's developed and published by Journeybound Games. I found out that this is actually a team made up of two people, a married couple, Andrew and Hannah. So that's actually kind of a cool thing. You don't see many married couple power teams, but I think that's really awesome in the games industry to see more of that. So when I was doing research for this game, I decided to look at their website, and their website is actually kind of baller. It has an official walkthrough for the game, like with video walkthroughs of each stage on both the phone version and the Steam and Switch version.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like really well featured, and it even has like a little press kit. So I copied and pasted a bit that I'll read later from the press kit. So thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate it. It helped me figure out more about you guys. But yeah, this is just a puzzle game about helping three treasure-seeking bros run around these increasingly complex series of 3D rooms. They use each other as platforms to traverse up and down blocks, and the goal is just to get all three of the bros to the end of each stage. Things get more complicated as new elements like switches that can only be pressed by certain explorers are added, moving platforms, weighted pulleys. Basically, the idea here from their press kit is that they wanted to create a puzzle game that would be complete and calming experience. There's no death, no pressure or race against time, and anyone of any gaming skill and level can potentially play it and have fun. And I do believe that. It's just the right amount of difficulty.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's just the right amount of difficulty where, like, I don't feel that somebody could just pick it up and not, like, be able to immediately kind of figure it out. But it was also challenging enough that, like, I was getting, like, stuck in some parts, but I think that was just because I was also streaming and talking with people. I felt like I was just, like, going from puzzle to puzzle and getting, like, aha after aha moment, and it just felt good to, like, figure out the intricacies of each little puzzle and then implement the solution. The idea really is just all about no man left behind. Got to get each brother to the end. So you have to figure out the mechanics of, like, okay, well, you can get a whole stack of brothers on, like, a bunch of steps down, but you can't get them all up because they can't climb up on their own, right? So you have to sort of maneuver around the level and figure that out. The art style is cute. It's pretty minimal. You're three dudes who want treasure. That's the story. It's, you know, it's more in service of the gameplay than anything. There's only a few achievements that seem like they're a bit of a pain for 100% completionists. They're just like, you know, complete the whole game within a certain amount of time, that kind of thing. Otherwise, like 3 to 5 hours of content. It's pretty good for this.
Editor Johnny here. David quickly caught his mistake after recording the podcast and wanted to point out that there are no achievements for completing levels in X amount of time. The hard achievements he was referring to were to complete levels without using any undos.
If you're looking for like a chill puzzle game to vibe to, it's really hard to do worse than this. It's very simple and rewarding. There's even extra content added in like a winter update. It sort of ends abruptly.
It ends very abruptly. You did the last puzzle on stream and all of a sudden you were back at the start menu and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, like the game is over? That's it? Oh, alright. And then you can go back in, and if you hit the play or like continue after you've beaten the game, then it gives you an extra puzzle that like leads you to the real ending. So make sure you do that. But yeah, the aha moments in this game feel well earned. I definitely did actually on stream say aha multiple times. And when I read through the description of the game on the press kit, when I read that like that's what they were designing for, to give you those moments of aha, I was like, well, they did their fucking job then, because I had that happen lots of times while I was playing, and it felt good. So never took too long to implement either. That's a problem that I have with a lot of puzzle games, is that it takes too long to implement the solutions to a puzzle. But in this game, all the movement is very snappy and quick. And the fact that you can play it on your phone as well as on your Switch or PC gives you lots of different options to tackle this. I think that this is a really easy one to recommend. So I feel like this next one is going to be an easy one to recommend here too.
The next one is One Step from Eden, a game by Thomas Moon Kang, who also did Astral Gun, which looks really interesting. It's like $1 on Steam, and it's like a 2 to 4 player competitive sort of arcade space shooter. Looks really cool. Yeah, looks really interesting. This game, One Step from Eden, I'd be murdered by our dear friend Pacifist. If I what a sentence.
Wow, that's not a sentence that makes sense, actually, the more you think about it.
If I did not say that this game was like Mega Man Battle Network.
Yeah, this game is definitely derivative of that game.
It's very derivative of that game. It is a grid-based deck-building roguelite. So you're on a grid of 4x4 tiles, and your enemies are on a grid of 4x4 tiles, and you can move one grid at a time, and you can attack across from the tiles, and you can use spells that go across, and they can attack towards you. So they give visual indications of where the enemy's attacks are going to land on your tiles, so don't stand on the tile with an indicator of an attack landing there, and they give a visual indication of where your attacks are going to hit on the other tile, so line up your attacks to hit the enemies. Simple as that. Grid-based deck-building roguelite. Yeah, that's all there is to the game.
It's literally it. I'll say that I actually played this game in a demo that came out in the Humble Bundle cycle a while ago, and I really enjoyed the demo. It was one of my favorite demos that we played so far, and to have the full game be just as good, if not way better than the demo, I'm very happy.
Yeah, in all seriousness, the game is absolutely phenomenal. The story is what you'd expect from a roguelite, as in there's very little. You know, you get like 2 cutscenes at the end of the game. The goal is to fight your way into Eden. You just do a bunch of murders to get into the Garden of fucking Eden, right? Like one would expect, you know? But there are several different endings to the game, which I think is great. There's a pacifist run you can do, a true pacifist run, a neutral, a genocide, and a true genocide run. So there's 5 different ways to end the game, theoretically. Only 2 of the endings give you a like cutscene, and that is the true pacifist and the true genocide. The true pacifist involves not killing anyone, including the final boss, after you've killed them. So each boss, when you down them, you get the option to kill them or spare them. So the true pacifist, you have to spare every single boss that you fight, including the final boss. The true genocide run, you have to murder every single boss that you fight, including the shopkeeper. So
you have to kill the shopkeeper too?
Yes, you have to kill the shopkeeper too.
Rip. I bet he's a hard boss.
So that gets you the fucking shopkeeper's a hard ass boss fight. But unlocking her too is also one of the coolest characters in the game. So each character plays very distinctly from the others when you first get them. They all have a different primary attack. Like, Saffron's is just a gun that can spam. Terra has a crack, so she can crack tiles to force enemies into certain positions. Sarah has a shield that can reflect. Violet has an ability that drops a buff on any one of the 4 tiles next to her. And so whichever tile you go to gives her a different buff, be it Fragile, Trinity, Flow, or... I don't remember the last one. Something else.
Editor Johnny.
Editor Johnny probably won't put anything in there. We got a tight turnaround this month. Editor Johnny here. This spot has been left intentionally blank, even though I got most of those wrong, and there's actually 5 buffs. Let's see. And then the shopkeeper's unique mechanic is that the shopkeeper has access to the store from the very beginning of the game. Everything in the store, barring refreshes, upgrades, and removals, are free. And her health is equal to the current amount of money that she has. So you get all of the artifacts and cards in the shop for free, and then it costs money to refresh the shop to have new stock, which then in turn reduces your maximum health. It's a very interesting and unique character. I have not seen a character implemented like that in really any game that I've played, and I really enjoyed the shopkeeper as a character.
I really love the creativity in this game. It really seems like they have gone very far with... I mean, what is essentially a fairly simple concept is like taking a shmup and then putting it on a grid.
100%. It's a very simple concept, but the game, it's so unique and interesting, and the way that so much is happening on screen at one time, it's just like fucking sensory overload almost. The first few times I played this game, I I could not understand what was going, because you have to track your character's position, you have to track the enemy's position, you have to track where your attacks are going to land and where their attacks are going to land, you have to track the active spells you have from your deck at the moment, you have to track what's coming up in your deck, you have to track how much mana you have available. It's wild. Like, you are keeping track of so much in this game at one time. You learn really easy to, like, focus on one spot and sort of take in all the information through your peripheral at once.
It weirdly reminds me of one of my favorite games. I don't know why, just your description of it. Have you ever heard of or played The World Ends With You?
No.
It's a really fascinating game where the combat is on the DS, right? So there's two different screens, and on the top screen you're in one dimension, and on the bottom screen there's another character in a different dimension, and they're fighting the same creature. And the one on the top is doing like basically like a turn-based combat that like auto progresses after a certain amount of time, and you have to like choose responses for it. And then the bottom screen has like an active combat that you have to like manage while also managing the top screen. And it is...
That sounds so cool.
Oh, so fucking dope. But I love the multitasking of, like... That's what it sounds like of this.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what it is. Because, like, that's what you're doing. It's so fucking finely tuned. And, like, every position of movement counts for something. And so, like, you have to learn when to prioritize. Okay, now I'm going to attack versus now I'm going to dodge. And... I don't know. I think the game is really well designed. The gameplay feels so tight and well done. All of the boss fights are mechanically interesting and very unique. So as you progress up to Eden, you fight all of the other unlockable characters except for the one you're playing as. So there's this really interesting like Ludo narrative too. So that like if you're playing as Saffron, you'll never encounter Saffron as a boss, but you'll encounter Sarah and Terra and Violet and all of the other characters and Hazel. So it's really interesting like that. But as you progress too, each boss gets new abilities and stuff. So if you fight Saffron in World 1, the fight's going to be way different than if you fight Saffron in World 7.
Oh, interesting. So that's how they make it different in multiple different playthroughs.
There's tons to unlock in this game. There's tons of like cards, and every character has a different loadout that you unlock by beating the game with them. There's, the shopkeeper, there's a solo mode of Saffron. Like, there's so much really interesting stuff to unlock that all very much change the way the game is played. And it's a ton of fun. Every run feels like there's a great amount of variance, and it's unique and engaging. There's a really interesting system that they use called the focus system, in which you can set the focus of the cards you want to find, so you can really kind of fine-tune your build and add a little bit of control to the RNG, which is great, and you can find ways to break it, like spamming just... Okay, so I found a way to essentially grind through the game very easy. It's not, like, very easy, because the early game starts out very difficult because of the way you have to manage your deck. And the late game gets a lot easier if you cut down on as many cards as possible. And I would just run Anubis Haven builds, which is the poison and then like basically the best shield, but it gave everyone on the map a shield. So you'd spam.
I saw that in your Steam review.
Yeah. So you spam the shield to keep your shields up at like over 300 or 400, so you can take pretty much any hit while constantly keeping stacks of poison on your enemies so that they just slowly tick down underneath the shields. It's a lot of fun, and there's tons of different ways to play the game. You don't have to run Anubis Haven's builds. Like, that's just a very good build I found. There's also like Frost builds and Flow builds and Trinity builds, and you can go Structure builds, which is all about like putting turrets on the battlefield and stuff. There's Area Control builds where it's like laying mines and putting traps down on your opponent's side of the field. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of different things you can do.
The fun is in the experimentation, it sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a deck building game at its heart. So like a lot of the fun comes in fine tuning your deck and making adjustments and seeing what cards synergize really well with each other and building strategies off of that on the fly. I highly, highly recommend this game. If you like roguelites or you like Mega Man Battle Network, or even deck building games, like I fucking love deck building games as a fan of Magic the Gathering. It's impossible to go wrong. It's very challenging. It'll develop your skills as both like a player and a person, and you'll get hours and hours of fun out of this game.
Oh yeah, incredibly well done. And go try the demo too if you don't know about it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Go play the demo first and see if it's a style that you like. It will be frustrating and hard to learn at first if you've never played a game like this, but power through it, and it's definitely worth the reward of learning how to play.
So
That's it.
that's it. That's the whole bundle.
The extra will be next
That's
week.
not the whole bundle. It's half the bundle.
No, that's half the bundle.
It's only half.
It's only half the
It's
bundle.
only half. Oh, goodbye. All right. Well, we got games of the bundle, games of the month rather, games of the week,
Games of the month so far.
games of the month so far. We should add that little clarification. So far. So what's yours?
Mine's One Step from Eden. That's an easy one. It doesn't bash commies.
I knew that was going to be the case. The amount of time that I've seen you playing this on stream and off stream, I knew.
I did play this probably 60 hours at the start of this week.
Oh my god!
But I had to for the bundle.
For the bundle.
It's a roguelite. Can I really judge a roguelite if I haven't got all the unlockables?
And then meanwhile, you'll put like 4 hours or 2 hours or like 1 hour into Imperator Rome. Like,
look, some games I just know aren't for me, but they're for someone out there.
well, I know what game was for me, and that was Frog Detective. That's my game of the week so far. That's my game of the month. Man, I love it. It's so sweet. It's like taking a syringe of dopamine and injecting it directly into your veins.
God, we love that. That's funny, too, because that's how I felt playing Smile for me, too. Was like, it's just a good, satisfying experience that makes me feel okay with crying.
Yeah! I mean, this time it wasn't so much with crying, because there honestly is nothing even worth crying over in this game. It's just a good time. It's just a bunch of animals partying, basically, at a certain point.
Hell yeah, baby.
Yeah, and I need that kind of positivity in my life sometimes. Especially right now.
Yeah.
So, what other games have we been playing?
I've been playing a lot of... We signed up for the Scavengers beta and got in that. That game is very fun so far.
Yeah, I tried
I'm
it
enjoying it a lot.
Yeah.
I did some Stardew Valley with my bud here, David, and Don't Give a Buck.
Yeah, I did Phasmophobia as well with Redux. Also, Never Split the Party, which was an interesting little Binding of Isaac type game that's free.
Yeah. We did Don't Starve Together for the community night.
Yeah, I did We Were Here Together with Samuel on stream. That was a lot of fun. Catman Sam. And I've also just been playing on my own some like Terraria and Diablo likes. We haven't
and so much Cyberpunk 2020.
Damn it, I was going to say we haven't forgotten anything. You ruined it.
Oh no, I took the joke out of your mouth.
Cyberpunk 2020, baby.
the good old cheap knockoff of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. Someone Flash before it dies is a medium this month. So someone released that. As a Flash game.
hurry and release Cyberpunk 2020 as a Flash game.
Before all support of it is dropped off the face of the planet. That's very sad, by the way. I don't know if you've really paid any attention to that.
It's all archived. It's all archived.
It is now, but like, I don't know. It's still just like, it's a bit rough.
I mean, I should say most of it's
Most of it.
archived. There's shit out there that's probably not going to get caught.
A lot of underground stuff. It's not going to get archived.
Yeah. But most of it's archived. A good portion of it.
All of the Cartoon Network games that were on their website and all the Nick games were all archived, and that's all that I care.
I saw that. That's exciting as fuck.
That's good.
Codename Kids Next Door?
Yo, Ed Netty fucking Clash of Idiots. That's the one.
Yes,
That's the one.
That's a good one.
That's the one. Okay. Anyway.
Global Givings is the charity this month. They are a non-profit whose goal is to connect nonprofits, donors, and companies in nearly every country in the world. They help fellow nonprofits get access to funding, tools, and training, and support their needs to serve their communities. So it's a nonprofit all about helping nonprofits build up.
Give to the people giving, as they say.
Exactly. Make it easier for the givers to give.
And you also wrote the most of this last part of the copy, so I feel like you're the best equipped to to tackle it all. Sorry to make you do one after the other, but
we've got a few answers to last month's question, which was, what movie or franchise would you want adopted into a video game? Ooh. From our friend Reduction, we have easily James Cameron's Avatar set in an open-world multiplayer game or a VR survival game. We have our friend T from the Discord that said Evil Dead character action game that's not held back by a shitty rush job.
We also have Honey and Gin with Rob Marshall's 2002 adaptation of Chicago as essentially an American Ace Attorney game, which, what a pick. That's
what a game that'd be. And then Elkerlak, which I know I pronounced wrong, said a fight club as a fighting game with the ability to control territory by setting up franchises and then using your members to destroy big box stores and credit card companies, which I am so surprised hasn't been done yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has been, maybe, probably, but it's probably just not been as publicized because it's probably an indie game.
Editor Johnny, here again. The Fight Club game is just a regular sort of Street Fighter clone where you punch each other with the skins and names of people from Fight Club. So, it's not that idea at all. It's just another generic fighter.
Sub-Editor Johnny here. It's Editor Johnny's Editor Johnny. I just wanted to let it be known that I always accidentally record these editor bits when I'm listening to the playback speed at 1.5 rate. Therefore, they all turn out at a really weird pitch. Normally I go back and correct them, but this one sounded exceptionally funny, so I decided to leave it in.
Team might end up getting their wish because there is an Evil Dead game on the way, according to the Game Awards announcement.
And it looks very good.
Which, it's funny because T, I think, actually put that in the chat before the Evil Dead game was announced.
They absolutely did. It was perfect.
Wow. That actually worked out great.
And I have a question for everyone this month.
Oh, what is the question?
What's the most interesting or unique game mechanic you've experienced in a video game? So something like, the portal gun from Portal, or the grappling hook from Just Cause, or, just this a very specific, or the sort of repetitive hallway from PT.
Or maybe, like, I know Pacifist has been going on about the auto battle mechanic in Final Fantasy XII and the ability to sort of program responses to certain situations for party members. So you can basically have
the Gambit system. Yeah. So what is the most interesting or unique game mechanic you've experienced in a video game?
All right. And this last part just says closing bit.
Well, that's because we're done. This is it. The podcast's over, David.
Yeah, but what's our bit?
Are we doing a bit?
I'm getting so distracted. I hear people like outside talking very loudly, and so I keep that's part of the reason why I had to do this last part, because I'm just like getting distracted hearing other people.
Can you go out and have them yell our social media plugs?
Hey, get back! I don't know.
I don't know. Follow us on Twitter. Come join the Bundle Bourgeoisie Discord. We're moving our Patreon over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee if you're interested. We might have some merch showing up there soon. Tell your friends about the podcast, please. David and I found out we've reviewed over 160 games this year.
Was it 160? I thought it was 130.
Was it 130? Well, I mean, if you count the extras, it's probably over 160.
Oh, wait, no.
Yeah, you're right, 100. Because it's 60 plus the the 7 from this month. So that's 134. Over 134.
I mean, it might be probably 160 if you count the extra games that we didn't do Steam reviews for.
Counting the extra games is probably close to 160.
That's fucking crazy. That is that is so much.
So, fucking seriously, those of you who are listening and who have stuck around and are actively part of this community and everything, thank you all so fucking much. That means a lot to us that we can do this. We can talk about 160 games in a year. That's so cool, and that people are there and they care and they're interested.
Especially in our streams, it seems like the streams are really what people appreciate a lot, is seeing the games in action and getting to interact with us as well.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you so fucking much, and if you could tell people about it, it means a lot and it goes a long way in helping us grow.
We have no money for marketing. It's 100% worth it.
Exactly. It's all word of mouth. So we aren't going to we're going to have to review 160 games next year while working full-time jobs this time.
Woohoo! Get ready. Yo, pandemic unemployment has run out, so get ready.
Yep, we're done. And student loans are back, baby.
Yep. Oh my, yeah. Repayment starts this January, so.
Yep. So like, yeah, seriously, thank you all who have listened. This outro's gone on for like 11 minutes.
Yeah,
Jesus.
the music's gone. It's already out.
The music's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's already
it's
left.
done. This
Yeah.
is over. Thank you all who are listening. We love you so much.
All right, bye. I love you.
Bye.